Hi friends, welcome to Moody Blooms. I'm Mary Ellen, and today we're going to review the stunning Neon Philodendron, also referred to as the Lemon Lime Philodendron. And these are very similar to the Neon Pothos or Pothos, and they're almost identical. And there's a couple ways to kind of tell them apart, but this is in fact a philodendron, and it is just stunning. Look at those beautiful, bright chartreuse leaves on there. These are such stunning plants. Now, the Lemon Lime Philodendron is more heart-shaped than the Pothos, Neon Pothos, and they also have these thinner leaves than the Pothos. Look at that beautiful variegation on there. It's so pretty. And the Neon Pothos have leaves that are generally larger and thicker. And then the Pothos also have more of like a waxier sheen to them. And the Lemon Lime Pothos will tolerate lower light than other philodendrons. But give her bright light and she'll definitely reward you with a beautiful, bright, bushy plant. So it's definitely one that loves light, but it can also do well in shadier spots. But make sure that you don't put it in direct sun because these can sunburn. The Neon Philodendron also prefers nice, well-draining potting soil. So even when I get regular potting mix from the store, I always add some pumice or perlite to help make it, more well-draining. It really needs to dry out in between watering. You want to also make sure that the pots that they're in have drainage holes. Now, typically when you buy them from a nursery, they come in a plastic pot like this with drainage holes already in there. But just make sure that if you do repot it or it's not in a pot that's too tight. Oh, I don't want to smush that guy. You want to make sure that it's not super tight if you put it in a more decorative pot, you want to make sure that it has a little bit of space so that it has some good place for air to flow through. Now, as for water, they also have similar watering habits that a Pothos would have, but best way is just to kind of stick your finger in the soil to see if it's dry. If you press it down and it's dead dry, then it's definitely in need of water. But they'll also tell you when they need water. The leaves will start to get a little bit limp and they'll wilt a little bit. And so by that point, it definitely needs some water. Another thing that may also produce that wilting look is soil that's too compact or that doesn't drain well. It'll actually hold on to that moisture and it can actually rot the leaves and kill your plant. So make sure that it is in fact in some well-draining soil. Now, the Neon Philodendron prefers a temperature that is about 65 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 18 to 26 degrees Celsius during the day. We definitely don't want the temperature dropping below 55 degrees Fahrenheit at night. They prefer a warmer climate. Now, to keep this beauty nice and glossy and large, you'll want to keep it in a area that maintains a high humidity. Think like 70% or more. That's basically what their natural habitat is like. They're from South America's tropical rainforest, and so they like that tropical climate, which is super humid. But my house is never at 70% humidity. I'm in dry Southern California, so they still do fine in a climate that's not super humid. But of course, they're going to thrive and do better. Just like light, we want them in some bright indirect light for them to thrive. The Neon Philodendron can be fertilized once a month during the growing season, which is typically spring and summer. In winter, definitely cut back on fertilizing. And I would just suggest that you add your fertilizer with a diluted solution once every other month in winter. Now, unlike outside plants, indoor plants have no way of maintaining a natural supply of organic matter. The organic matter is what helps replenish the essential macro and micronutrients that help your plant thrive. So we definitely want to make sure we do add some fertilizer if possible. There's many fertilizers on the market, like balanced liquid fertilizers, slow release fertilizers, granular fertilizers, or organic versus synthetic. And You know, each of them are going to do kind of different things. I typically just used a balanced liquid just because it's easiest, and my plants seem to be happy with it. The lemon lime philodendron is definitely a prolific grower. It will grow these long, beautiful, healthy vines, which can easily be propagated in soil or water. And they're such resilient plants. And my favorite part is that they tell you when they need water. So again, if they start to frump a little bit and look a little bit sad, then you definitely know that it's in need of some water. Now you can definitely prune these back if they become too big and they lose their shape. You can definitely repot those cuttings, and they're super easy to propagate, just like the pothos plant. Very similar ways of propagating. Now these need to be repotted once it physically looks like it's too small for the pot. If you definitely have roots coming out of the bottom of your pot, you know that it is definitely time to repot that plant. When you do go ahead and repot the plant, you want to make sure that you choose a container that's about 1 to 2 sizes larger than its existing container. And of course, always make sure there's drainage holes in your pot. Now the philodendrons are pretty hardy plants. They're pretty resistant to most pests. Now of course, they are definitely it's possible to have pests like the mealybug or aphids. Those are pretty much the 2 main ones you need to worry about. The mealybugs will be this like sticky white webbing, usually on the undersides where the leaf meets the stem. If you don't catch the infestation, it will eventually kill your plant. But for the most part, they're pretty resistant to pests. Now, unfortunately, the philodendron plants are toxic to humans, so do not munch on these, no matter how beautiful and yummy and delicious they might look. But definitely keep them away from your furry friends, and we don't want to make them sick or induce any vomiting or anything like that. So definitely keep them away from your small children as well. They contain these calcium oxalate crystals, which are poisonous. So we definitely want to steer clear of munching on these. Now, if you see that your plants are starting to have curling leaves, it's typically underwatering, but it also could be root rot, which is from overwatering, could also be from pests, and it could also be from too much light, meaning it's like direct sun and it's just wilting because it's getting sunburned and too much sun. So bright indirect light is going to be what makes this beauty flourish. Now, if your leaves are starting to turn brown on the tips or the edges, your plant's probably not getting enough water. So consider increasing the water over the next week or so, and make sure that it is getting some humidity as well. Now, the brown leaves can also mean that your plant is getting too much sunlight. They are susceptible to sunburn if they do get too much sunlight. So if you start to notice them starting to wilt and there's some browning on the leaves and it's in area where it gets lots of direct light, make sure you do move it and keep it in a more shadier spot. I hope you learned something new about how to care for the beautiful Neon Philodendron. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. We love to hear from you, and we'll see you next time on Moody Blooms.